If I had to start learning French again from zero progress, this is exactly how I do it. The first thing I want to do is kind of talk about my background in what made me interested in French. In high school, I was taking Spanish because they only offered Spanish. I really liked Spanish. I was even thinking about becoming a Spanish teacher after, college and stuff. I studied a little bit of Chinese in middle school, so I've always been kind of a language girl. When I was 17, my mom and her best friend took me on a trip to Paris. I immediately just kind of fell in love, just the way people talked, the culture. So it really shifted my perspective on the French language because I'd never been around it before or really heard it all that much. There was no doubt in my mind that it was what I wanted to do, the next language I wanted to study. So when I got into University of Washington, I started French 101, and I remember the first day of class, the teacher was speaking 100% in French already, and I didn't understand a word, and I was obviously terrified. If you're taking a language class, it's 5 days a week for about an hour. The first day was scary, but by the time the next week came around, I started to understand him a little bit, which felt amazing because I was like, whoa, last week I couldn't understand a word of French, and now I'm making crazy progress. The key here is that it was very immersive, very fast. One thing that helped me a lot, that I hated actually, was that the teacher would just call on us randomly, force you to pay attention. You couldn't really be messing around on your laptop or anything. You never knew when he was gonna call on you. So, you were actively engaged for the full hour, just completely like your brain is just taking in all of the French. And I honestly think we should normalize sounding bad at first, because nobody's gonna sound like a natural when they're first learning a language, and I don't think that should be considered embarrassing at all. I know for myself, I was super embarrassed the way I sounded. I couldn't do the French R correctly. I couldn't read words right, and I felt so embarrassed every day. But little by little, it faded away because the frequency in which I was practicing my French just made me really good at French. I also think that embarrassment is super productive, which I know sucks to hear. For example, I remember one day my teacher called on me, and I don't even remember what the question was or what I said exactly, but I just remember my answer was so bad and it was just so broken, and I just didn't know how to explain the idea at all, and I was so embarrassed. But then I went home and I, researched a little bit on how to say this and how to say this, and then I learned how to say it, and I wasn't embarrassed anymore when I had to explain the same idea the next day. It helped me apply to other instances, and so you get less embarrassed as time goes on. The key here is frequency beats perfection. If you're taking one day out of your week to learn French, it's still better than nothing, but if you want to truly advance in French, then my advice would be spend 10 minutes a day, every day of the week, or even just 5 days a week, just sitting down, maybe learning a new word, or listening to a French podcast or a French TV show. Just 10 minutes of your day learning French. So the real secret is what I did outside of French class. The first thing I did was switch my phone to French, go into settings and reset your phones, all of it, to French. This kind of forces you to figure things out because you use your phone all the time. This was kind of scary at first, and I definitely had some moments of weakness where I was like, oh my gosh, and I had to go to Google Translate and figure out, what settings meant in French or whatever. But as time goes on, you really do adapt to it, and you end up with really useful vocabulary because a lot of the websites and stuff or apps use words that you're gonna be using a lot. Another thing I did was make a TikTok account, and I set the preferred content language to be French. So I was getting a lot of French story times, French memes, which are actually pretty funny. I would try and scroll on it for about 20 minutes a day. Even if you don't understand what they're saying, it is so helpful to just, listen, because picking up the patterns, noticing pronunciation, all this stuff, and you can even repeat what they're saying, even though it sounds stupid. If you hear something you like, just repeat it because it will stick. Practice makes perfect. Another thing I like to do was journal in French. And I don't mean like journal pages and pages and pages. I would try and do like a short little paragraph or even just a sentence sometimes when I was lazy. This is a really good way to learn what you don't know. Pull your journal out, pull your phone with your translator out because you're gonna need it, right? Like, oh, I went to a cafe today with my friends. If you don't know how to say the word friends, you can just look it up, and yeah, you're gonna learn a lot of the words you use all the time, and you will be able to communicate way better because you're learning stuff that you use a lot. Another thing I would say is French movies or TV, or English movies or TV but with French subtitles or French audio. This is a great way to, again, pick up the patterns, notice what you don't know, maybe repeat after them sometimes. Short little phrases like vas-y. It's like stuff you might not learn in class, but people say it like spoken all the time. One thing about me is I wouldn't say I'm like the best student ever. I do not sit down and memorize vocab lists of French or really any class. I like to focus more on just exposure because I feel like, you know, the best way to do it is just immersion. Consistency is super important. There is not a day that goes by that I don't watch some French TikToks. Just real usage, learning what is useful to you, and that is super personal and like, you know, changes with everyone, but learning what's useful to you is super important. And also, I don't think you need to spend hours and hours like studying grammar because that is just something that you kind of naturally pick up over time. And sure, there are some of those tenses and stuff that it would be useful to study and skim over from time to time, but for the most part I think you pick those things up as you hear them. A big part of learning is motivation, and especially with a language, this is like a lifelong kind of learning journey. I don't think I'll ever stop learning French. I don't think I'll ever be perfect at it because I don't feel perfect at English either. I do try to label myself as somebody who speaks French as opposed to somebody who's learning French because it kind of helps my confidence, and I would say I'm at a level where I could communicate with somebody who speaks French pretty well. I've kind of embraced it in my daily routine, my aesthetics, my online life, as you know probably from my TikTok. I just think liking the person that you become within the language matters so much. What I'd do differently if I started today is start immersion way earlier. I would not be afraid of sounding dumb because even though it's embarrassing, it is really productive, and I would just trust the process and I would not try to rush it. It's so tempting to just be like, oh, I want to speak French like now, like I just want to be good at French, but that is just like simply not possible. Like you really have to work for it. I think that French has changed me so much for the better because it's helped me gain confidence, and I think this goes for learning any language really, but learning how to communicate to a whole new group of people is so amazing and so rewarding. I just love it. Let me know where you're at in your French journey. I'd love to know. If you have any questions, let me know. See you soon.